Mara lived on the planet Lyria, a place full of strange glowing crystals and wide blue skies. The planet was different from Earth, but humans had built small colonies here to study its energy and learn its secrets. Mara had been on Lyria for 5 years. She worked in the research dome, a large glass structure filled with machines and instruments that measured the power of crystals. She loved her work, but she did not like the people around her. She always felt different, not in a special way, but in a way that made her feel small and invisible. She wore heavy cloaks that hid her face and rarely spoke to anyone except to answer questions about her experiments. Most of the humans in the colony admired people who were confident and loud. Mara was quiet. She thought she was not beautiful. Every time she looked in the reflective glass of the research dome, she focused on what she thought were flaws. Her skin was pale from spending long hours inside, and she thought her hair was too thin. She believed her face was ordinary. Sometimes, when she passed other colonists, she imagined they were judging her. She told herself that it was safer to stay hidden. One bright morning, Mara was checking the energy readings of a new crystal that had appeared near the eastern cliffs. The crystal was larger than any she had ever seen. It glowed softly with green light and seemed alive. Mara loved how it pulsed gently as if it had a heartbeat. She adjusted the instruments and took careful notes. She felt proud of her work, but a small voice in her mind whispered that no one else would care. Suddenly, the door of the dome opened. A gust of warm air entered, and Mara felt a chill run through her body. She looked up and saw a man standing in the doorway. He was tall, with short brown hair and curious eyes that seemed to look at everything carefully. Mara's first instinct was to hide behind the console. She tugged her cloak higher over her face, hoping he would not notice her. "Hello," the man said with a friendly smile. "I am Leo. I just arrived at the colony. I was told someone here is studying the eastern crystals. That would be you?" Mara hesitated. Her voice was small and uncertain. Yes, I am Mara." Leo stepped closer, but not too close. He carried a small pack with tools and notebooks. "I am here to study the energy flow of Lyria. Maybe we can work together. These crystals are fascinating." Mara blinked. She did not know what to say. Usually she avoided conversations with new people. She thought it was better to be alone. Yet something about Leo made her pause. He did not seem to notice her heavy cloak or her pale hands. He only seemed interested in the crystals. For the next few hours, Mara worked in silence while Leo observed her notes and measurements. She tried to stay in the background, but she noticed how careful he was. He asked questions politely and wrote down the answers without interrupting her. Mara began to relax. Maybe he was different from the other colonists. Later, Leo suggested they visit the eastern cliffs to see the larger crystal in person. Mara wanted to refuse. She did not like leaving the dome. The cliffs were high and exposed, and she did not want anyone to see her. But something in Leo's calm voice made her agree. The journey to the cliffs was long. The colony's shuttle could take them, but Mara preferred to walk. The landscape of Lyria was beautiful and strange. The ground glowed faintly underfoot, and thin trees with silver leaves stretched toward the sky. Small creatures with bright eyes peeked from behind rocks. Mara felt a mixture of fear and wonder. She had walked this path many times, but seeing it with someone else felt different. Leo kept talking, pointing out patterns in the crystal formations and explaining how energy flowed through them. Mara listened and tried to respond, though her words were quiet. For the first time in years, she felt that her knowledge mattered. Leo nodded at her answers and smiled. He did not laugh at her or correct her sharply. Mara's heart beat faster, but not from fear. It was excitement. When they reached the cliffs, the large crystal towered above them. It was taller than a house and shone with green and blue light. Its surface was smooth, yet tiny cracks ran across it like veins. Mara approached it carefully. She ran her hand along its cool surface and felt a small vibration. The crystal seemed to respond to her touch. "This is incredible," Leo said softly. "You have found something amazing, Mara." Mara froze. He said her name. Her heart skipped. No one had spoken to her like that before, with interest and respect. She looked at him through the hood of her cloak, unsure if she should take the compliment. "You really understand these crystals," he added. "Most people just look at them. You see them differently." Mara felt a warmth in her chest. She wanted to hide, but she also wanted to hear more. She whispered, I just study them. They are not that special." Leo shook his head. "No, they are special because of how you see them. That is important." The moment was quiet, filled with the hum of the crystal and the soft wind at the cliffs. Mara realized she had not felt this scene for a long time. Most people focused on appearance or strength, but Leo focused on what she could do and how she thought. She wanted to hide her face, but her hands rested lightly on the crystal. She felt connected to the planet and to someone who valued her mind. As the sun began to set, Mara and Leo carefully collected small samples of the crystal to bring back to the dome. Mara worked faster, carefully shaping each piece and recording data. Leo assisted without taking over, letting her lead. She realized she was enjoying his company. He was kind and patient. Mara had never thought she could feel calm around another person. By the time they returned to the colony, the sky was dark with streaks of purple and orange. The lights of the research dome glowed warmly against the night. Mara entered the dome first, wiping her hands on a cloth. She felt both shy and proud. Leo followed, carrying the samples carefully. "Tomorrow," he said with a smile, "we can continue our study. I want to learn more from you." Mara nodded, hiding a small smile under her cloak. She had spent so many years believing she was ordinary and invisible. Yet someone had noticed her work, her mind, and her careful attention. It was a new feeling, strange and comforting. As she cleaned the equipment, Mara thought about the cliffs, the crystal, and Leo's words. Maybe she was not as invisible as she believed. Maybe she had value beyond what she could see in the mirror. That night, as she lay in her small room, Mara pulled her cloak closer and whispered to herself, "Maybe I am not ugly. Maybe I can be someone important too." The next morning, Mara awoke to the soft hum of the colony's life. She prepared her instruments and thought about the crystals they would study. When she saw Leo waiting for her at the dome, smiling, she felt a small spark of courage. The world outside the dome seemed less frightening. Mara realized that for the first time, she could imagine stepping into it without hiding completely. And so Mara's journey began. She was still quiet, still cautious, but she was no longer invisible to herself. The cliffs, the crystals, and the kindness of one new friend showed her that she could be more than she had ever believed. The next morning, the colony on Lyria woke under a soft violet sky. Mara walked to the research dome, carrying her small data tablet and a backpack filled with instruments. She felt nervous and excited at the same time. Leo was already there, arranging tools and checking small crystal samples they had collected the day before. "Good morning, Mara," Leo said with a bright smile. "Are you ready to see more of the eastern cliffs today?" Mara hesitated, her fingers brushing the edge of her cloak. I think so," she replied quietly. Leo nodded. He did not push her, but his eyes showed interest and warmth. He carefully packed a small kit of instruments into his bag and waited. Mara took a deep breath and followed him outside. The morning air was crisp, filled with the scent of the glowing silver trees and the faint hum of energy from the ground. She kept her head slightly bowed as if trying to shrink, but Leo walked beside her without saying anything about it. The path to the cliffs was long and winding. Mara's legs ached slightly from walking, but she tried to focus on the crystals that lined the way. Small blue crystals grew near the rocks and tiny insects with translucent wings danced around them. Mara stopped for a moment to examine one cluster. "These crystals, they feel alive," she whispered. Leo crouched beside her, observing. "They do. Look at the way they pulse. They respond to movement and sound. Your touch might be affecting them too." Mara looked at him. He was smiling, yet his smile was not teasing. It was sincere. Her heart fluttered. She wanted to hide, but she also wanted to stay near him. For the first time in years, she felt that someone valued her mind, not her appearance. As they approached the cliffs, the air became warmer. The eastern cliffs were tall and dangerous, with jagged rocks and small winds that could knock a person off balance. Mara's hand tightened around her cloak. She was nervous about climbing near the edge, but Leo reached for hers and gave it a gentle squeeze. "We will be careful," he said. "I am right here." Mara felt a strange calm. She had never trusted anyone like this before. Yet something about Leo made her feel safe. Together they climbed carefully, examining the large crystal that glowed softly near the edge of the cliffs. Its light reflected on their faces, and Mara noticed how peaceful the moment felt despite the height. "This crystal is different from the ones we saw yesterday," Leo said, his eyes shining with excitement. "It seems to have a stronger energy flow. We should take careful readings." Mara nodded and opened her instruments. She measured the crystal's vibration and energy pulses. As she worked, Leo watched her, making notes and assisting when needed. She was surprised at how comfortable it felt to work together. Usually she worked alone, afraid that someone might criticize her methods. But Leo never interrupted her or questioned her knowledge. After a while, Mara heard a faint rumbling sound. She froze. The ground beneath them shook slightly. Leo looked up, concerned. "A small rock slide, probably. Stay close to me," he said calmly. Before Mara could react, a few rocks tumbled down the cliffside. She jumped back, her heart pounding. Leo guided her toward a safer spot, placing his hand lightly on her back. "It's okay, Mara, we are safe here," he said. Her chest heaved with fear, but she also felt a spark of trust. He did not panic. He stayed calm and focused. Mara realized she had never felt so protected before. She looked at him, wanting to say something, but the words got caught in her throat. After a few moments, the rock slide ended. The cliffs were quiet again, but Mara's hands were shaking. She had faced danger, yet she had not run away. She had stayed with Leo, and he had guided her safely. For the first time, she felt a small hint of courage inside her. "Thank you," she whispered. Leo smiled softly. "You did well, Mara. You stayed calm, too. That takes courage." Mara lowered her head, unsure how to respond. She was not used to being praised, especially by someone she respected. I am not usually brave," she said quietly. "You are," Leo said firmly. "It is easy to doubt yourself when you hide, but you are stronger than you think." Mara felt a warmth in her chest. She wanted to believe him, but old habits of hiding and self-doubt lingered. Still, a small part of her began to hope that maybe she was capable of more than she believed. As they returned to the colony, Mara walked beside Leo with a little more confidence. The path seemed less frightening now. She noticed the glowing crystals underfoot, the strange silver trees, and the creatures that watched them from the rocks. Lyria was beautiful, and she realized that she had never truly seen it before because she had always been lost in her own fears. Back at the research dome, they carefully placed the crystal samples on the work table. Mara started recording data while Leo adjusted the instruments. Mara's hands were still slightly trembling, but she felt excitement too. Each crystal held a secret, and she had the knowledge to discover it. "You know, Mara," Leo said while observing her work, "these crystals respond to emotion and attention. The way you handle them matters. You bring them energy with your focus." Mara looked up, surprised. "Me? How can I affect them?" Leo shrugged lightly. "I am not sure, but I have seen it happen. You have a calmness that makes the crystals respond. That is rare." Mara felt her heart beat faster. She wanted to hide her face, but she also wanted to hear more. "Do you really mean that?" she asked softly. "I do," he said. "I see how careful you are, how much you care. That is beautiful, Mara." She froze. Beautiful. The word seemed strange coming from someone else. She had spent years telling herself that she was ordinary, invisible, and plain. Yet here was someone telling her that she had beauty, not only on the outside but because of her mind and heart. Mara did not know what to say. She looked down at her hands and whispered, I do not feel beautiful." Leo shook his head. "That is because you do not see yourself clearly. You think only about what others notice, but I see your strength, your care, and your mind. That is what matters most." Mara felt a warm glow inside her. She wanted to believe him. Slowly, she lifted her head and looked at him through the hood of her cloak. For the first time, she did not look away immediately. "You really think so?" she asked quietly. "I know so," Leo said with a smile. "Your actions, your thoughts, your attention to the world around you. That is real beauty. It is rare." Mara's eyes softened. She had never heard such words directed at her in a way that felt true. Usually people focused on looks, on appearances, on who was loud or confident. Leo focused on her mind and her heart. That was new, and it felt like a gift. They worked together in silence for a while, recording the energy patterns of the crystals. The dome was quiet except for the hum of machines and the soft pulsing light of the samples. Mara felt a strange peace. She realized that for the first time in a long while, she could focus on her work without fear of judgment. When the day ended, Mara carefully packed her instruments. She looked at Leo and smiled faintly. "Thank you for today. I liked working with you." Leo's eyes lit up. "I liked working with you too, Mara. Tomorrow we can continue. There is so much more to discover here." Mara nodded, feeling a spark of hope. Maybe she could step out of hiding more often. Maybe she could trust someone. She felt small, but for the first time she also felt seen. That night Mara returned to her room and pulled her cloak around her shoulders. She stared at her reflection in the small mirror. For the first time she did not see only flaws. She saw someone who had faced danger, worked hard, and earned respect. She whispered softly, "Maybe I am not as ordinary as I thought." As she lay in bed, her thoughts wandered to Leo and the cliffs and the glowing crystals. She realized that courage could grow slowly, and trust could begin in small ways. Mara closed her eyes and imagined the cliffs, the wind, and the light of the crystals. For the first time she allowed herself to hope that she could be more than invisible. The morning sun rose over Lyria, casting soft orange and purple light across the colony. Mara woke early, her mind filled with thoughts of the eastern cliffs and the glowing crystals. For the first time she felt excitement instead of fear when thinking about the day ahead. She dressed quickly, secured her instruments, and walked to the research dome. The path glimmered faintly as small blue crystals caught the sunlight. Each step she took felt lighter than the day before. When she arrived, Leo was already there, carefully examining the crystal samples from the cliffs. He looked up and smiled warmly when he saw her. "Good morning, Mara. Are you ready to explore more?" "Yes," she replied softly. "I want to see what else the crystals can do." Leo nodded and packed their instruments into a small kit. "We are going to test the energy patterns today. I think we might discover something new. These crystals are responding to your presence more than I expected." Mara felt a small smile creep onto her face. For years she had believed that she was ordinary and unimportant. Now someone was telling her that her careful attention, her focus, even her quiet nature could influence the world around her. It felt strange but wonderful. They walked together to the cliffs, their steps careful over the uneven ground. The wind whispered through the silver leaves of the trees, and small creatures with luminous eyes watched them curiously. Mara paused to touch a small crystal that grew near a rock, feeling a faint vibration run through her fingers. The crystal pulsed gently in response as if it recognized her. Leo noticed and nodded. "See, they respond to energy and focus. You are making a difference here, Mara. You are part of this planet in a way most people will never understand." Mara's heart fluttered. No one had ever spoken to her like this. She felt a sense of purpose rising inside her. Perhaps she had value beyond what she could see in the mirror. When they reached the largest crystal, Mara paused. Its light shimmered with green, blue, and gold hues. The surface was smooth but seemed to contain tiny flowing lines like veins. Mara placed her hands on it gently. The crystal vibrated beneath her touch, stronger than any she had felt before. Leo observed carefully. "This is incredible," he said. "I think this crystal might be able to amplify certain energies. If we study it carefully, we might learn how human emotion and thought interact with Lyria's crystals." Mara's eyes widened. Amplify energy? Could this crystal show how she felt inside? Could it make others see what she had always kept hidden? She hesitated, then took a deep breath. Slowly, she focused on calm, hopeful feelings. To her surprise, the crystal pulsed brighter and a soft hum filled the air. Leo's eyes widened with wonder. "Mara, it's responding to you. It's amplifying your thoughts." Mara's heart raced. She had never felt such a connection with anything before. I did not think it would work," she whispered. Leo shook his head. "You are doing something remarkable. We need to record this carefully." They set up instruments to measure the crystal's energy output. Mara worked with precise movements, her focus completely on the crystal. Leo adjusted sensors and read the measurements aloud. The data confirmed that the crystal was responding to Mara's emotional focus. Each calm, hopeful thought she sent out made the crystal's energy grow stronger. Mara felt a strange joy. For so long she had believed that her feelings, Her mind and her presence were invisible or unimportant. Now she saw proof that she mattered, that her care and focus could make a real difference. After several hours of careful observation, Mara leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. Leo, do you think this could help the colony? Could it help us understand Lyria better? Leo smiled. I think so. And maybe it can help humans understand themselves too. You are showing us that attention, kindness, and focus can change the world around us. Mara felt her chest tighten. Change the world. Could she really do that? Could she really be important? She glanced at Leo, who was watching her with a gentle expression, and felt a warm glow inside her. For the first time, she felt seen not only for her mind but for who she was. They decided to take a short break and sat on a nearby rock, watching the light of the cliffs shimmer. Mara pulled her cloak tighter around herself, still feeling shy, but she also wanted to speak. Leo, why do you think I can do this? I am not strong like the explorers. I am not confident like others in the colony. Leo looked at her steadily. Strength is not only about being loud or brave in front of everyone. Strength is about focus, patience, care, and persistence. You have all of those. And you are learning courage in your own way. That is more important than anything else. Mara felt tears prick her eyes. No one had ever said such words to her. She felt like the weight of years of self-doubt was lifting slowly. I think I understand. Maybe I can do more than I imagined. Leo reached out and gently touched her hand. You already are. Every time you study these crystals, every time you care about them and the work, you make a difference. You are important, Mara. The warmth in Mara's chest grew. She wanted to hide, but she also wanted to stay near him. She realized that for the first time she felt brave enough to believe in herself. After their break, they returned to the crystal. Mara focused her mind on calm, strong thoughts. The crystal pulsed brightly more than ever before. Leo recorded every reading carefully. This is a breakthrough, he said. We are seeing how human presence can amplify energy on Lyria, and you are the key, Mara. Mara looked at him astonished. Me? Really? Yes, Leo said firmly. Your focus, your care, your courage, it all matters. You are more important than you know. Mara's heart raced. She wanted to hide, but she felt a strange confidence rising inside her. Perhaps she could step out of hiding more often. Perhaps she could make a real difference in the colony and on this planet. As they worked, Mara noticed something else. The crystal began to reflect faint images, almost like visions. She saw glimpses of herself walking among the cliffs, helping others, exploring new parts of the planet. She saw herself smiling and confident, working alongside the colony, learning and teaching. The visions were faint, but they filled her with hope. Leo noticed her staring at the crystal. What do you see? He asked. I think it is showing me possibilities, Mara said softly. Things I could do. Things I could be, Leo nodded.
It is showing potential.
Not just for the colony, but for you. You are discovering your own strength and courage. Mara felt a mixture of awe and fear. Could she really change herself? Could she really be the person she saw in the crystal's reflection? She took a deep breath and focused on one clear thought. I am capable. I am strong. I am not invisible. The crystal pulsed brighter. Mara felt a warmth fill her entire body. Leo watched silently, impressed and proud. You are doing it, Mara. You are sending your energy clearly. The crystal responds because it recognizes your intent. Hours passed as they continued their work. Mara recorded data, adjusted instruments, and experimented with different thoughts and focuses. The crystal responded every time, showing subtle images and pulsing brighter with hope, care, and courage. Mara realized that her mind was powerful in ways she had never imagined. As the sun began to set over the cliffs, Mara and Leo packed their instruments and prepared to return to the colony. Mara felt tired but fulfilled. She had discovered something incredible, not only about the crystals but about herself. For the first time, she truly believed she could matter. Walking back, Mara glanced at Leo. Thank you, she said softly. For believing in me, Leo smiled. You don't need me to believe in you. You are learning to believe in yourself. That is what matters, Mara smiled faintly. For the first time, she felt that she could step out of hiding. Slowly but surely. She felt the possibility of new adventures, new discoveries, and new confidence. The cliffs and the glowing crystals had not only revealed Lyria's secrets, but had revealed the potential inside her heart. That night, as Mara lay in her small room, she held her cloak close and thought about the day. She imagined the cliffs, the glowing crystal and the visions she had seen. She whispered to herself, I am capable. I am strong. I am not invisible. For the first time, Mara allowed herself to hope that she could change, that she could grow, and that she could be seen for who she truly was. She closed her eyes, feeling the soft hum of the colony around her, and dreamed of the possibilities tomorrow could bring. The morning air on Lyria was cool and crisp, carrying the faint hum of the glowing crystals in the colony. Mara woke earlier than usual, her mind already focused on the experiments she and Leo would conduct that day. She dressed carefully and packed her instruments. For the first time in years, she felt a mixture of excitement and confidence rather than fear or self-doubt. When she arrived at the research dome, Leo was already preparing the instruments. He looked up and smiled warmly. Good morning, Mara. Ready to see what the crystals show us today? Yes, she said softly, feeling a flutter of anticipation. I want to understand more. They walked together toward the cliffs, the familiar path glowing under their feet. Small blue crystals reflected the morning light, and tiny creatures watched curiously from behind rocks. Mara felt a strange sense of calm. She no longer wished to hide completely. Being with Leo had made her realize that her knowledge and care were valuable. As they approached the largest crystal, Mara noticed a soft vibration in the ground. Do you feel that? She asked. Leo nodded. Yes, it seems the crystal's energy is stronger today. We should be careful. Mara placed her hands gently on the crystal. This time she focused on courage and hope, imagining herself stepping fully into the world instead of hiding. The crystal pulsed brightly, sending waves of light that danced across the cliffs. Mara felt a rush of energy flow through her, unlike anything she had experienced before. Leo observed closely, taking careful measurements. The crystal is responding to your intent more clearly than ever, he said. It seems to be amplifying your emotions. Mara's heart raced. She realized that the crystal reflected not only her focus but her inner strength. For the first time, she felt capable of influencing something bigger than herself. She looked at Leo, who was watching her with admiration and care. His presence gave her courage, and she felt a small spark of bravery that she had never known. Suddenly, a strong wind swept across the cliffs, rustling the silver trees and causing small rocks to tumble. Mara instinctively stepped back, her heart pounding. Leo placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We are safe, he said calmly. Just stay close to me. Mara took a deep breath and nodded. She felt a strange sense of trust in Leo. He had guided her safely through challenges before, and now she realized she could rely on him without fear. Together, they continued their measurements, careful to avoid the unstable rocks. After a while, Mara noticed something unusual. The crystal began to reflect faint images, almost like visions. She saw herself walking among the cliffs, helping other colonists, and exploring new parts of Lyria. She saw herself speaking confidently, teaching others about the crystals and discovering new wonders. The visions were faint but vivid enough to make her heart beat faster. What is this? Mara whispered. Is the crystal showing me? Me? Leo nodded. It seems to be reflecting your potential, Mara. Your focus, courage, and care are being amplified. The crystal is showing possibilities, what you could achieve if you believe in yourself. Mara felt a mix of awe and fear. Could she really become the person the crystal showed? Could she step fully out of hiding and face the world with courage? She took a deep breath and focused on one clear thought. I am capable. I am strong. I am not invisible. The crystal pulsed brighter, and Mara felt warmth fill her chest. The visions became clearer, showing her confidently interacting with others in the colony and exploring new areas of the cliffs with joy. She realized that the crystal was not only responding to her emotions, but also inspiring her to see herself differently. Leo watched silently, impressed and proud. You are sending your energy clearly, he said. The crystal responds because it recognizes your intent. You are discovering your own strength and courage. Mara felt a tear slide down her cheek. No one had ever told her that she had value beyond her work, beyond hiding, beyond what she believed about herself. She looked at Leo, her eyes shining. You really think I can do this? Yes, he said firmly. I know you can. You are stronger than you realize, and the crystal is helping you see it too. For the next few hours, Mara and Leo carefully documented the crystal's responses. Mara focused on hope, courage, and determination. Each time she concentrated on these feelings, the crystal pulsed brighter and seemed to hum with energy. She realized that her mind, Heart and focus were powerful tools. She could influence the world in ways she had never imagined. As the sun began to set, casting warm orange and purple light across the cliffs, Mara felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had discovered something extraordinary, not only about the crystals but about herself. For the first time, she believed that she could step out of hiding and be fully seen. Leo packed the instruments, smiling at her. "You did incredibly well today, Mara. You faced your fears, focused your energy, and learned something new about yourself. That is real courage." Mara felt warmth fill her chest. She wanted to hide, but she also wanted to embrace this feeling. "Thank you, Leo," she said softly. "For helping me, for believing in me." Leo's expression softened. "You don't need me to believe in you. You are learning to believe in yourself. That is what matters most." Mara nodded, feeling a spark of confidence. She realized that courage was not about never being afraid, but about facing fear and moving forward. She had faced her doubts and insecurities, and the crystal had helped her see her potential. As they walked back to the colony, Mara glanced at Leo. Do you think the colony will accept me if I step forward more?" Leo smiled. "They will see your work, your courage, and your kindness. That is what matters. You don't need to hide anymore. People will respect you for who you are." Mara felt a sense of relief and hope. For years she had believed that she was ordinary and invisible. Now she understood that her mind, her care, and her courage made her special. She realized that she could influence the world around her, just as the crystal had shown. That night, Mara returned to her room and sat by the window, looking at the glowing crystals in the distance. She thought about the day, the cliffs, and the visions she had seen. She whispered to herself, "I am capable. I am strong. I am not invisible." She realized that her journey was just beginning. The crystal had shown her her potential, but it was up to her to continue growing, learning, and stepping out of hiding. She felt a small spark of determination, a promise to herself that she would embrace her abilities and face the world with courage. The next morning, Mara woke with renewed energy. She dressed carefully, feeling more confident than ever. As she walked to the research dome, she no longer felt the need to hide completely. She pulled her cloak lightly over her shoulders but held her head high. She felt seen not only by Leo but by herself. Leo greeted her with his usual warm smile. "Ready for another day of discovery?" "Yes," Mara said, her voice steady. "I am ready." Together they walked toward the cliffs, prepared to explore, learn, and discover new possibilities. Mara felt a sense of excitement and courage she had never known. She realized that the crystal had shown her not only the potential of Lyria, but the potential within herself. She no longer needed to hide. She was ready to embrace her strength, her focus, and her courage, and to step fully into the world. The colony woke to a bright golden morning. Mara felt a sense of energy she had never felt before. For the first time, she did not wake with anxiety or fear. Instead, she felt curiosity, courage, and excitement. Today, she decided, she would step further out of hiding and take responsibility for her work. She would no longer let self-doubt hold her back. She dressed carefully, pulling a lighter cloak over her shoulders and carrying her instruments. As she walked toward the research dome, she noticed other colonists moving about. For a moment, her old habits whispered to her, telling her to hide, to shrink back, to avoid attention. But Mara shook her head and held her chin high. She had discovered something powerful inside herself, and she would not let fear control her anymore. At the dome, Leo was already preparing the instruments. He looked up and smiled warmly. "Good morning, Mara. You look ready for anything today." Mara smiled faintly. "I feel ready," she said. "I want to do more today. I want to explore the cliffs and study the crystals carefully." Leo nodded. "That is good. I think the crystals are responding to your confidence more than ever. Let's see what we can discover." Together, they walked toward the cliffs, the path glowing faintly underfoot from the small crystals. Mara noticed the way the light reflected on her hands and instruments. She felt connected to the planet and to the world around her in a way she never had before. The cliffs no longer seemed frightening. They felt like a place of possibility. When they reached the largest crystal, Mara placed her hands on its smooth surface. She focused on courage, kindness, and hope. The crystal pulsed brightly, sending waves of shimmering light across the cliffside. Mara felt warmth flow through her entire body, filling her with confidence and determination. Leo observed carefully. "The crystal is responding strongly," he said. Your energy, focus, and intention are clear. You are making a difference, Mara. Mara smiled softly. She realized that for years she had hidden her abilities and her heart from the world. She had thought she was ordinary, invisible, and unimportant. Now she saw that she had the power to influence the world around her. She could make a difference not only through her work but through her courage and care. As they continued their study, Mara noticed small changes in the crystal. Tiny images appeared on its surface, showing visions of the colony thriving, of people working together, and of her own role in helping others. She saw herself teaching young colonists about the crystals, exploring new areas of Lyria, and leading small missions to discover new energy formations. The visions filled her with hope and pride. "Look, Leo," she said softly, pointing at the crystal. "It is showing possibilities. It is showing me what I could do." Leo nodded. "The crystal amplifies energy and intention. It reflects what you are capable of achieving. You are discovering your own potential, Mara. This is your moment." Mara felt tears of joy in her eyes. For the first time, she truly believed in herself. She realized that courage was not about being fearless, but about facing fears and taking steps forward. She had faced danger, uncertainty, and self-doubt before, and now she could move forward with confidence. After hours of careful study, Mara and Leo collected samples and recorded data. Mara felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. She had worked carefully, faced challenges, and discovered new truths about herself and the planet. She realized that she no longer needed to hide. She could be seen, respected, and appreciated for her mind, her care, and her courage. As they walked back to the colony, Mara noticed colonists working together, carrying supplies and tending to the smaller crystals. She realized that the colony depended not only on exploration, but on cooperation and trust. She had spent years hiding, believing she was invisible, yet now she saw that her work and her presence mattered deeply. Back at the dome, Mara carefully stored the crystal samples. She noticed young colonists peeking curiously at the instruments. One of them, a small girl named Neela, looked up at Mara with wide eyes. "Do you really study the crystals?" she asked softly. Mara smiled gently. "Yes, I do. They are amazing and they respond to attention and care. You can learn about them too." The girl's eyes lit up. "Will you teach me?" Mara felt a warm glow in her heart. For the first time, she realized that teaching and sharing knowledge could be as powerful as discovering it herself. "Of course," she said. "I would be happy to teach you." Leo watched quietly, smiling. He had seen Mara's transformation over the past days. She had grown in confidence, courage, and self-belief. She was no longer the shy, hidden girl who believed she was ordinary. She was someone who could inspire others and make a real difference. Later, Mara sat with Leo on a small rock outside the dome, looking at the glowing cliffs in the distance. "Leo," she said softly, "I feel different. I feel strong, capable, and beautiful in a way I never believed before." Leo's eyes softened. "You are beautiful, Mara. Not only because of how you look, but because of your mind, your heart, and your courage. That is true beauty. I have always believed it, and now you see it too." Mara felt a tear slide down her cheek. She had spent years hiding, believing she was invisible and ordinary. Now she finally understood that her strength, her care, and her courage made her beautiful. She realized that she could face the world with confidence and kindness. I never believed I could feel this way," she whispered. "But now I want to live fully, help others, and explore everything I can." Leo nodded. "And you will. You have the courage and the heart to make a difference. I will be here to support you, but you are already strong enough to lead, discover, and inspire." Mara felt a sense of calm determination. She realized that hiding had only limited her potential. Now, with her confidence growing, she could face challenges, share knowledge, and influence the colony in ways she had never imagined. She could be a leader, a teacher, and an explorer. She could be herself fully. Over the next weeks, Mara began stepping more into the colony. She taught young colonists about the crystals, led small expeditions to explore new cliffs, and shared her knowledge with others. Each day she grew more confident and self-assured. People began to notice her, not for her appearance, but for her intelligence, kindness, and courage. She had become a source of inspiration and guidance. Through her work, Mara discovered more about Lyria's energy. The crystals responded not only to emotions, but also to teamwork and shared intent. Mara guided colonists in focusing together, and the crystals pulsed brighter than ever before. The colony flourished. and Mara felt pride in knowing that she had contributed to its success. One evening, Mara and Leo stood together on the cliffs, watching the sun set over the glowing crystals. "I cannot believe how far I have come," Mara said softly. "I used to hide and believe I was ordinary. Now I feel alive and strong," Leo smiled. "You always had the strength, Mara. You just needed to see it yourself. And now you do. You are brave, capable, and beautiful, and you inspire others too." Mara looked at him, her heart full. "Thank you, Leo, for showing me that I can believe in myself, for helping me see my courage and my worth." Leo reached out and gently held her hand. "You did this yourself. I only helped you see it. Your strength comes from within." Mara felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. She realized that beauty, courage, and strength were not things others could give her. They had always been inside her. She only needed to believe in herself and step into the world with confidence and care. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Mara took a deep breath. She felt connected to Lyria, to the colony, and to herself in a way she never had before. She understood that hiding had limited her, but now she was free. She could explore, teach, lead, and discover. She could be herself fully without fear or doubt. Mara turned to Leo and smiled. "I am ready for whatever comes next. I am no longer afraid to be seen." Leo nodded, his eyes shining. "And I will be here, Mara. Together we can face anything, explore everything, and discover new possibilities." Mara felt warmth fill her heart. She had come a long way from hiding, self-doubt, and fear. Now she embraced her strength, courage, and beauty. She understood that being true to herself was the most powerful and beautiful thing of all. The cliffs glowed softly in the moonlight as Mara and Leo stood side by side, ready to explore the wonders of Lyria together. Mara smiled, knowing that she had finally found her place in the world. She had faced her fears, discovered her strength, and embraced herself fully. The future was bright, and she was ready to live it without hiding ever again.